Dear Venerable Sir, Dhamma friends, today is the second day in our retreat and time for the Dhamma talk. May everyone get settled down for the Dhamma talk, and we'll give the consent with 3 times sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Attiko udai anye panche dhamma mama savaka yehi mamang savakanang sakkaronti garukaranti manenti pujenti sakkatva garukatva upanissaya viharanti iti. Dear Dhamma friends, yesterday, as I mentioned, we started with the Maha Sutta that you find in the Dhammajiva Nikaya, the middle and sayings, and where the Buddha and the particular person known as Udai, or sometimes called as Sakuludai, have a dialogue or a discussion. And if we are to remember the summary of the last talk, we can say the Buddha paid visit to his meditation center or the dwelling place, and then he was very, very happy that the visit of the Buddha, he really welcomed him, and he calmed down his disciples and going to start with the discussion, whereby he says that the place Rajagaha, where the event took place, people got together, according to the Udai, he is reporting to the Buddha, people got together and they had a discussion in the community hall, telling we live in this Rajagaha. They're very lucky because so much of spiritual masters are there and they have their own disciples. So they dwell here, take the rainy retreat. So people are lucky with spiritual beings, virtuous beings. And reporting that, he continued to report in detail. We have renowned 6 masters, and all of them have their own disciples. And whenever they sit for a talk, or a formal talk, some disciples are disturbing. They say, if you wish to know this kind of a subject, don't ask the master. I am the person. Master do not know. So you must come and consult me. I am the one person can give a clear explanation about this subject. Then the master says, please calm down. We are in a talk and people are addressing me, not individually you. So therefore let them call me. I can give the answer for anything, but he can't find a calm down situation. Always this kind of cross talks are arising. They don't have much of confidence about the explanations or prophecy of the master. So Udai is reporting to the Buddha, Purana Kassapa, Ajita Kesa Kambala, all the people. And then in the discussion, they agreed, instead, whenever the Buddha is to give a sermon, disciples are very, very disciplined, and they never start with cross questions, and they respect with noble silence, and they honor you, respect you, revere you, venerate you, and ready to live in dependence on the Buddha, honoring and respecting. So that is the part of the Udai, his report. Then the Buddha is asking Udai, what do you think, what do you feel, why disciples are so honoring, respecting and revering the Gautama, the Buddha? What is your explanation? Then Udai, taken the chance, he says, I would like to attribute this character due to 5 of your qualities or virtues. So first and foremost thing is you are eating less and phrasing this character of eating less. That is why your disciples are respecting you, and whatever the robes you are going to get, you are very contented with, and you in return phrase and preach others, you must be contented with whatever the robes you are going to get, and that is your teaching. And you are depending on alms rounds, and you appreciate that very character of depending on alms rounds than any livelihood. And you are contented with whatever the dwelling places or houses or monasteries offered to you, and you prescribe how one must appreciate whatever the arama, vihara or dwelling places you get, and therefore people are respecting you. And last thing is, he mentioned that you always seek solitude and phrase the virtues and good part of being solitude, and take your peace of mind. And so therefore your disciples are quite respecting you, quite honoring you, revering and venerating, and they are ready to live independence of you with that respect and with that honor. So after Uday giving that answer, the Buddha is not directly negating it. He says, Uday, if you are telling that I am the person who is eating less and prescribing less and less eating, I can tell you there are some disciples of me and they are eating lesser than me, and they are practicing austere practices, and they are much, much better along that character. So if that is the case, you are attributing, why should they respect me? Because they are more virtuous. And as far as the rag robe or whatever the robe, getting contented with that, I sometimes accept good robes for the kings and the ministers and rich people, but there are some disciples, they never take robe given to hand, they collect it from the thrown away pieces, old clothes, and they wash it and clean it, and they happily wear it. As far as that quality is concerned, they are much better than me. And if you say that is why they are respecting and honoring and revering me, they should not. That is, they are much better than me, and they are sometimes depending completely on pindapata or alms rounds. I sometimes go to the houses and accept meals and sit in their houses and eat it. But some of my disciples never. They completely go house by house, never get into houses, and they are content with what being offered. And if you are taking this as a good quality, they are much better than me. And accepting and using whatever the dwelling places or houses, there are people, they never accept any kind of roofs. They live under trees. They go into caves and live sometimes 8 months, completely outdoor. So with that respect, they are much, much advanced than me. And solitude-wise, some people never talk. They go, associate no one, and they are very serious about that. But you see, in my case, I have to talk with the people, and I have so much of thing. So therefore, I can't accept that these are the qualities that disciples are paying respect, venerating, living in dependence of the Buddha, Gautama. And then it is not arguing each other, Buddha is taking a step back. Then the Buddha says, Attiko udai anyeva pancha dhamma. Attiko udai anyeva pancha dhamma. Yei mamang savako sakkaroti garukaroti maneti pujeti sakkatta garukatta upanissai viharati. I would like to mention you complete another set of 5 qualities by which the disciples are honoring me, respecting me, revering me, venerate me, and live in dependence on the honoring and respecting me. So this is the point onwards the Buddha is going to give his interpretation. If some master or leader wish to have any kind of honor, any kind of respect or revering, venerating, or live them as disciples, live in dependence of the master, these are the qualities according to the value system of the Buddha. So indicating that there are 5, the first and foremost thing, Buddha presenting one by one, idudai mamang savakanang adisile sambhaventi. I think, as far as my disciples are concerned, the first and foremost quality, they live in dependence on me and honoring me, respecting me, revering me, venerating me because of my virtues. Or in Pali, it is called sila. Silava samano gotamo paramena silakhandena samannagato. They say, my disciple says, my teacher, Buddha, the Gautama, is virtuous person and is supreme aggregates of virtues he is having. No one can be equal or peer with the Buddha. So now Buddha is listening and Buddha is going to give one by one the qualities that, according to the teaching of the Buddha, the master receiving, the founder receiving honor, respect, revering and venerate. So it is partly a social issue and how people or society at large respecting others. The other thing is the sila or virtues is a personal issue. Someone must protect or restrain oneself and observe oneself. So this is a kind of ethical and individual personal issue. This is opening a door or windows for a big discussion. Because this is about 6,000, 2,600 years ago in India. And now we are in after long distance of time and the space, and we can see how much problems on the earth for the moment because of lack of virtues. So therefore it's a general idea, no virtuous people can live on the earth. If you wish to live, you must have the parallel and equal characters like the society at large. So we can't prescribe, we can't show a role model because everything accepted that virtuous life is not possible like. And on top of that we can say all the other religious groups and the creeds, they have not given much of value on this sila sikha or restraint on the virtues. So therefore, their moral responsibilities of the disciples, when compared with the disciples of the Buddha, there's a big difference on philosophical level or theoretical level. And what is the effect of that kind of virtuous person or restraint on virtues to the society at large. So we can talk on theoretical basis or book knowledge, huge amount of literature available, and then you can get PhDs and anything in the university, enough knowledge is available. The other aspect is, you can practice by yourself and you can apply it into yourself, and you can understand how much within this short period of time you experience so-called sakkaroti, garukaroti, maneti, pujeti, the honor, the respect or the reverence and the veneration, and people trusting you. And that everyone accepts it is a very good quality, and it is but the world in the present day, it's a huge vacuum. There are no such things. So that is why at the beginning I mentioned some people never think about that. They say, whatever may be the way, you must increase your popularity, increase your economic strength, and your social strength. And the way they are using, ultimately they kill themselves and hurt themselves, and on top of that they attribute to someone outside. So therefore, there's a subject called reasoning in adult psychology. We do, knowingly or unknowing, the things that we wish to do. Ultimately, whenever it is going to give a bad results, you are masters to attribute that to a neighbor, or to the government, or to the sky, or to the this and that is what you call the reasoning. And each and everyone has equal abilities to reason out, to say, I am virtuous, I am innocent, I don't know, due to this and that only it happened to me, so therefore don't find fault with me, please try to attribute the fault into someone else. But this is a kind of a perversion in each and every of us. So if someone can see, take little time away from the society and look at it and live up to it and see the proportionate experience you are going to get, it is tangible. It is something you can experience it. So that is what part and parcel of this retreat like that. And it is by itself, the Sila Sikha by itself has its own virtues. And not only that, it is leading to the other good qualities, other deep, profound qualities we can expect one by one as the Sutta expand. And today we are going to talk about the Sila Sikha, or restrainment regarding the virtues, how much we can experience it within a retreat or within our spiritual life. And if you really apply yourself, does the social norms and the society at large affecting you, or being it is so, can one still develop that kind of a spiritual life? So, early part of my life, as a person, I never give any respect for any virtues, because it is the pleasure principle. You are doing anything in order to get sensuous indulgence or satisfy your senses. And in society, no one finds fault with. They say that is the young life. So, up to the age 26, I managed to break each and every precept, but still make a name as a good boy. No problem. No problem. And even then, I was so cunning, even nowadays I am still a good boy. Sometimes you also may be. But I am yet another boy. There's nothing. And I can't imagine exposing into this kind of a discipline, exposing into this kind of a society, exposing into this kind of exploration, no signs at the early part. So when I first meet Venerable Dhammika, I confess, I told Bhante, don't talk this kind of thing because I am such a person without any virtues. And I would have mentioned the same thing for other Sri Lankan monks and the elderly people. They all in bankruptcy, no one had any kind of a positive suggestion. So when I am expressing to Venerable Dhammika, I still remember he told, nothing to worry about the virtues. Your simple thing is try to be mindful. So my simple argument was, how can you practice meditation or be mindful without these virtues? So I myself presented, you must be first and foremost virtuous, then only you can do meditation, because Sila, Samadhi, Panya is the sequence. So I don't know. Venerable Dhammika was so competent, he told, you as a young boy, you can try. Just be mindful. Then I checked him whether he, by my expressing to him, will he divulge it and whether he is trying to compromise with me. But it took 3 years for me to understand the word meaning of mindfulness, and then some other years just to observe precepts without letting the society know, without letting the near and dear one knows that I am observing precepts. So it was right from the beginning was a challenge for me. Venerable Dhammika imposed, he told, now you have left the life just like a pleasure principle, just like a normal boy. So if you wish to continue mindfulness uninterrupted, don't let others know that you try sila, or you try virtues, or you try precepts. So therefore practice it in such a way not to expose. So it happened me to associate a close circle, those who are the simple living high thinking. They never claim themselves as Buddhist. They never wear white. They never show any kind of virtues. But they live very innocent life. But they were 2-3 generation gap between myself and this elderly group. So when I'm associating, the communication was okay, even though my English was not up to the mark. So I found no problem because they never find fault with others. Never. So I thought something wrong with them. Because I am such a culprit, they keep the door open for me, for the discussion, for the sitting meditation. And when it is happening in 3 years, of course, Venerable Dhammika left the country, and then one of my friends, Godwin, came to me and asked, now your friend is no more, no? Then I told, it is not my friend, it is your friend. We were there, so I will not come for the discussion hereafter. He was shocked. He told, why you are not coming? We are continuing the discussion even without Venerable Dhammika. You are the person got the best result for the last 3 years. We were observing you as a role model, so much of changes happening in you, so we were very happy. Don't do it. So I never thought there's something happening while observing this mindfulness and the precepts. Or I would say, while you mindful, what is the impact on your precepts? Impact on your virtues? Impact on your morality? You can't gauge. So it's a hell of a disadvantage for the beginner. Beginner can't see the relationship between the mindfulness and the virtues. He thinks virtue is something physical, something solid, and you must have it before the mindfulness. So generally I find many are self-hating kind of characters. Everyone think I am not a virtuous person, inferiority, and no one can rectify that. So they must have a kind of a very open discussion. At the beginning, lot of doubts are there. And while keeping the discussion lively on, you must be mindful individually. As a group, we keep on discussing and individually mindful. Then only you can understand your mistakes, your lack of virtues is not strong enough to disqualify for you for the mindfulness. Any person can start at any level. So not only today I am going to talk on the Sila Sikha, I mean virtuous or restrainment on the virtues and morality, I would like to see the relationship between the mindfulness and virtues as a restrainment. It's a very close relationship. And the most important, most difficult thing is how to communicate it into a group. Very difficult. As a group, it may take a lot of time for someone to understand the relationship between the Sila Sikha or morality as a restrainment and the mindfulness. But you must take pain to share with others, then only, or only then, the people will at least try. I would use the term strive, more than trying. As far as you have no sila, you are trying. You are checking different masters, different methods, different meditation centers. The moment you become virtuous, you are striving. No more trying. You select one thing and keep on practicing. Therefore, your consistency in your practice or regularity in practice never happen. Maybe the whole world become a meditation center. Everyone be a master. All the methods will be valid for you, but as far as your virtues are not up to the mark, I am not telling the perfection, up to the mark, you will never strive. You will be trying here and there. So that is what happened in the present day meditation. People have so much of meditation centers, masters, meditation techniques, so they go and check this and that, and result-oriented exploration, no results. They do not know. Because the Buddha says, if you are virtuous, wherever you go, you fit into that setup. If you have no virtues, you are bumping like a rubber ball, up and down, ultimately end in the lowest plane. When a rubber ball is jump in a uneven plane, it jump and ultimately go to the lowest. Instead of giving an example, Pandita Sayadaw, he says if you toss a coin, 5 cents or something like that, and it go up, and when you come down, it flat, it fixed. That is the quality of the virtues. So therefore, whenever you are changing the societies, changing the places, and finding difficult with this group and that group, that means many call that groups are wrong, methods are wrong, teachers are wrong, I am a good boy. But the Buddha says, you are jumping from one place to the other indicates your lack of moral restrainment. So therefore, maybe you are testing 1 and 2, and when and where the virtues going to collect, accumulate, together with the mindfulness, wherever you go, you can find solitude, you can find a peace of mind, you can find something to learn. So therefore, Venerable Jnanarama, my preceptor, he used to say, don't expect the Buddha to come and teach you. Find a person little virtuous than you and follow him. If you are gaining, definitely he told, I will assure you, that particular virtuous person will lead you to another higher virtuous person. That is the Dhamma. That is not personal thing. That is called Opanayika. Opanayika is leading one to the other. So some or the other you have to start. That is not trying, it is striving. And while striving, for example, I came to the Nissarana. I don't know. I had no any idea about monk's life. I had no idea about the forest life. So I came here. And I knew no one here. Only the Venerable Katakurunda Jnanananda I knew by name. Still I thought he is as a foreigner, as a white man. And when I come here only I see a brown man. I had no any idea. So when I come here, my idea was to become a just citizen Joe. Not to have any kind of a recognition, just practice. So when it is happening, I found, of course, my selection was very good one. And when Jnanarama will start teaching, it's a very informal way. He says, you come and start with your virtues, and if you are correct, if you are gaining, you will get more and more, or better and better teachers, teachings, facilities, and nothing to worry. So after Venerable Jnanarama's passing away, it was a coincidence. An invitation came to go to Burma, and I had no any idea. I had 3 doubts. I had to eat meat, I had to learn Burmese, I had to change my primary object. So it was not a joke, it was not an easy thing. So then I told, never mind, if he is more virtuous, it must work along the Dhamma way. So I went there, no one knows who is who Pandita, no one knows what is the Pandita Rama. So luckily the Sayadaw who took me to Burma, he knew it personally. So when I go there, I felt more friendly or more relative, like a known person like. I don't know Burmese. I have to sometimes eat meat and kind of thing. And definitely they are pressing you to go to the rising and falling. So I was so familiar with in-breath and out-breath. So later I told Bande, I like vegetarian, okay. You have a separate vegetarian table. And English translators were there. And found he is very concerned about the discipline. Even now. He's very concerned about the discipline. So therefore don't worry about the other thing. You try to fit into this setup. Don't change the timetable. You must try your best to fit into this constitution, this timetable, this food. You can. If you protest, never. Never. So I was so happy. Later one day, Godwin came to Panditarama after 3 years, and he visited me, and he came back and told him, Dhammajiva will never come back to Sri Lanka. He was so fit into the Nissarana where the Panditarama, he has a big project, starting a big forest center, he will never come back. I also never thought about it, because I felt completely familiar, because they are also virtuous people. I am not a virtuous person, but I try. So therefore, if you wish to establish mindfulness or accumulate the experience, the virtues talking about ethical values. Mindfulness is talking about your inner quality, mental factor. So if you are not taking care about the virtues or your physical and verbal behavior, don't expect any kind of improvement in your mental behavior, because your external behavior of the physical and verbal is more easy for you to restrain. Even if you can't do physical and verbal restrainment, no possibility, no way to think about this mental part. So therefore, present day, I find many are asking facilities, demanding this and that, and complaining upon this and that, and ultimately they lose the chance, the opportunity. They never try how much I can fit into this situation. So Sila is nothing but checking your adaptability to this environment. If the environment is gainful, so you restrain your physical and verbal behavior in precept-wise. If you take 8 precepts, it says as the physical behavior is concerned, you restrain yourself not to kill, not to steal, and not to have sexual misconduct. And verbally, not to lie, not to slander, not to have harsh words, tale carrying, and these are the things. So, 3 in physical, 4 in verbal, and if you can't maintain that, or at least if you can't improve that, there are hardly any chances for you to develop the mental situation. And before going to the mental restrainment, or before going to the advanced benefits, in the literature you may find, as far as you take care about your physical and verbal behavior, that is what you call sila, you will be free from four kinds of fear. Because the Buddha sometimes explain fear is a collective term for defilements. Any person have any fear, that means internally he is not refined, internally he has defilements. So defilements definitely create fear. So as far as the virtues are concerned, or silasika is concerned, you may be unvirtuous or immoral person, but one day, some or the other, you may meet or you may listen and talk. The virtues and morality is better than immorality and lack of virtues. So there you must listen it and you must contemplate and see, is it worthwhile practicing? Am I ready to apply myself? And that is what you call kusala chanda. So you develop the idea of living up to that, or do away with killing, stealing and sexual misconduct, as much as doing away with verbal misdeeds. And when you are practicing it, the first and foremost, you can see your self-criticism going to reduce, because you know you as an immoral person. After this confrontation or encounter with your spiritual master or with your spiritual teaching, you try. Therefore, you know, earlier I was having my self-criticism. Even after getting such a precious opportunity, I never give a try, never gave strive. So therefore, now I am trying. So self-criticism reduces. So in order to tackle this self-criticism, many people go behind addictions. Present-day addictions are basically because they have enormous self-criticism, so they can't sleep, they can't go into the old age, they can't go into the darkness, they can't face any sickness because self-criticism, so therefore they go for addiction. Instead, if he or she going to understand this fear is because of lack of virtues, so therefore you declare and try to observe the virtues, slowly you can see the healing process, physical and mental healing process start. But as I mentioned earlier, you to quantify it, you to perceive it may be very difficult. Early gaining of the momentum, early gaining of the speed, very, very slow. It is called painfully slow. You start virtues, nothing happen. You feel like the same thing. Know whether I am virtuous or not. I experienced it for 6 years. I started to be a moral and virtuous, but exactly the same, nothing changed. After that only you start to feel the lack of self-criticism. Otherwise, our whole knowledge, our whole experimenting, research, because of the self-criticism. We don't believe yourself. That's why we are expecting the protection from outside, knowledge from the outside, the gain, fame, money, everything outside, because you are not contented. If you are contented here and now, in contrast with the outside sources, you can't be contented, be here and now. One reason may be you lack of virtues, lack of morality. I never try to tell you 100% virtuous or 100% morality. I am telling day by day, if you can be moral or virtuous or go for higher sila, that your fear in terms of self-criticism slowly reducing. And that can represent in a lot of other as moral criterion. Whenever you try to be moral, virtuous, your bad friends will be cut off. they will be gone away. Only a very limited amount of people, they value virtues, they don't care about the fame, gain and kind of thing. They will be there, like a pillar, like a lighthouse. But those people associating you in order to gain fame, this kind of thing, people will go out, and that very difficult for the younger generation to tolerate that situation. But the middle age people and the old age people can understand it more than the younger generation, because they know by now you have burnt your fingers, so therefore you can understand. So therefore more and more you become moral and virtuous. All the bad friends or immoral friends, immoral people will cut off. And so this one, lack of self-criticism, is one of the wealth the Buddha mentioned, that your contentment happens. Be here and now, or I would say be mindful, and then you can understand the moment you become mindful here and now, you may understand it is by itself it is contented. By itself you are solitude, you are in isolation, you are in the aloneness, and you can understand this is the only thought moment we can say, I am living. Otherwise we are partial. We are always thinking about the past and the future. True that you may attribute that contentment is an attribution of or result of mindfulness, but not a result of virtues. But the Buddha says the mind will never concentrated as far as you are immoral and lack of virtues. So therefore your scattered mind or the perturbed mind is due to the lack of virtues. So therefore when you give we give a consideration and little by little become virtuous, you may find your mindfulness gaining the ground, and some kind of a concentration can come. And as far as you have no morality and virtues, your mind will be quite disturbed, wandering, perturbed. So this is the way mindfulness, virtues and your own practical experience or pragmatic experience come into being. So usually it takes time. And the second fear is criticism from the outside. If you are not taking care about the virtues and the morality, your neighbors and the society at large always find, they may not tell you, but their behavior, their response indicates the moment you start virtues, their response, their relationship with yourself will be less and less frictional. You may be in more and more in the comfort zone, the communication that takes place. So therefore, the second attribution the Buddha gave is Attanuvada bhaya, the first one self-criticism, Paranuvada bhaya, criticism from outside also reduces. And the third one is Danda bhaya, due to the civil law and the penal code, as far as you become self-restrained, moral, less and less fear regarding the breaking civil laws. Otherwise, you may break it, you don't know, but keep on practicing. One day, you will get caught. Ultimately, you have to suffer a lot. Therefore, virtuous people, whatever the civil laws available, they are not much worried about. Not that they are not care about, because they care about their own virtues and the morality or precepts. So therefore, the penal code or civil law, you are not transgressing them, therefore nothing to worry. But that assurance you can't give it to your children. That assurance you can't give it to your dear and near one, because they have to observe their precepts. Only you can advise them. There's no magic here. Only thing is that you abiding by the moral responsibilities. So that teaching is shareable, but you can't take care about the morality of the other person. So therefore it appear very selfish, appear one-to-one relationship. And but the results you are going to get, it is immeasurable. And the last one is, according to the teaching of the Buddha, if you live an immoral life, after the death, you go to the nether world, and also called apaya. But even if you are a virtuous person, if you live up to the Dhamma, the Buddha says, even you are completely perplexed at the deathbed, you will never go to the nether world. That is the magic of your practice. At the deathbed, you may be completely disturbed, mixed up, bewildered, but the practice you have done going to protect. So the Venerable Dhammika taught me, specifically he accused me as a traditional Sri Lankan born Buddhist. He was not. He was different from there, and he was a monk. He said, you are accumulating so much of virtues, generosity and philanthropist and all the kind of thing. He told me that all these virtues or all these merits you accumulate will be null and void like at the deathbed. No, it's a luck by chance. There is no. But I will assure you, if you develop mindfulness together with virtues, the mindfulness is the only virtue or only quality, I would say, can go through the death. And it is accompanying you. For that, you must have your own virtues, and you may see as the mindfulness develops, the virtues become easier, virtues become more appealing, and when and where that situation happens, you have to tighten your belts. You have to go for higher precepts. Otherwise, you may lose the chance. So therefore, the chances to go to the nether world or hell will be reduced as far as you have this sikha, sila sikha. But I always try to emphasize that very sila sikha or moral restrainment, if it is not ordained, if it is not galvanized, if it is not reinforced with mindfulness, the relationship will be not so strong, not straightforward. So if you are a practitioner, meditator, mendicant, and your sila sikha, going to get the higher results because you try to be mindful and vigilant and diligent, so you can see the relationship. If you are immoral, these are the consequences. If you are moral and virtuous, these are the benefits. So at the beginning, of course, someone has to guide you. Otherwise, you yourself can see, be moral, virtuous, and try to be mindful. The more and more time you can live with your primary object or keep the face-to-face with the primary object, when you become more and more virtuous, it's an internal quality as well as an external quality. And then the mindfulness and the sila or virtue is going to reciprocally help each other. The Buddha, basically it says, whenever the person becomes wise, he is the only person can understand the benefit of the virtues. Whenever a person is virtuous, in him only you can find the wisdom. If there is no virtues, no wisdom. If there is a virtues, wisdom. So therefore, someone wish to have panya, or wisdom, as well as the sila, they have to go hand in hand. In between you can feel the mindfulness. Mindfulness is the broking, the matchmaker between the sila and the panya. So it is going with together. You can see whether you live with Buddha in India in that time or now, no difference. The present day, according to my experience, many are respecting and attributing more and more into the mindfulness, but they fail to understand their adjustments and their improvements towards a higher morality, higher virtues. They are very, very lacking behind, staggering and not keeping it up. So therefore, all the time, when and where the mindfulness is developing, you have to support it with higher virtues. Adi sila sikha. So the Buddha is telling, silava samano gotamo paramena sila samannagato silakandina samannagato. Throughout his past lives, when and where the time permits, when and where the mindfulness gives the green light, he always try to keep up the virtues, so that what happens is you get closely associated with the more and more virtuous people. Ultimately, it is like winning a war. Just like not expressing a wrong word is like winning a war. Like that, when you become virtuous, you can cut off so much of unwanted repercussions. But in our day-to-day life, we are happy with repercussions than virtues. Very sorry. We are always expecting tension, expecting frustration, and doing everything, and rather than mindfulness or virtues, because virtues appear not so dramatic, not so eventful. You feel like monotonous. You feel like boring. So therefore, more than sila, if you go for this variety of entertainment, ultimately you don't know where you are breaking this physical and verbal behavior. So therefore, if you don't get the proper association with the noble friends, and if you are not endowed with your own mindfulness, sila cannot be expressed in such a positive way. And when the Buddhism or teaching of the Buddha goes to the West, they are trying their best to keep the moral shame and the moral fear or restrainment of their faculties or virtues away from the mindfulness, and they wanted to practice the pure vipassana or pure insight, and they cut off sila. So therefore, ultimately, that become a shortcut to become mad. Shortest cut. Go to asylum. So ultimately, huge amount of research in the present day happening. What are the side effects? What are the after effects of mindfulness to the newcomers? And recently, I read a little bit of an article. It says they have tried their best. If at all any side effects, is it attributable to the lack of mindfulness or lack of virtues? No result, no research proved that any repercussion happening in your meditative life or mendicant life attributable to the mindfulness or lack of disadvantageous side of the mindfulness, but rather it is to the virtues or any other quality. Mindfulness never give. So therefore keep the mindfulness as the reference point or pivotal point, and observe always your moral conduct or your moral responsibilities. The Buddha says, or let me explain like this. Even if you are not a virtuous person, if you are not a moral person, if you are ready to start with the mindfulness, the Buddha says, Sati sampajanyam bhikkhave asati, sati sampajanya vipannasa, hatupanisangoti hirottappa. O monks, if someone is absence of mindfulness and the clear comprehension, he has no reason, he has no basis for moral shame and moral fear to arise. Unless otherwise you have your moral responsibilities, or leave aside the moral responsibility, your mindfulness, you don't know whether you are disturbing other person or not. You don't know you are disturbing the society or not. So therefore, if you are doing unmindful way, there may be a lot of moral and healthy fear and the healthy shame. You can't expect that if you are not mindful. So mindfulness is the only litmus paper or indicator whether you are disturbing others or not. So that is called moral shame and the moral fear, or called hiri and otappa. When and where someone is lack of moral shame and the moral fear, Buddha says you have no way to restrain your faculties. Your eye going by its own taste. Ear, the nose, the tongue, the body, mind, is daydreaming, fantasizing your pet issues, always thinking. Eye is always going for something pleasurable to see. Ear is always searching about something pleasurable to hear. Nose is for the smell. Tongue is for the taste. Body is for the luxuries, the comfort. So you can't restrain because you have no the responsibility about the moral responsibility about your moral shame and the moral fear. Under such circumstances, the Buddha says the virtues or morality cannot improve. So therefore mindfulness is going to give you a moral shame and the moral fear. Moral shame and the moral fear are going to give a little bit of control in your faculties, senses, and with that only you can make assurance, I can declare and I will not kill, I will not steal, I will not go for sexual misconduct. So therefore, if you start with the mindfulness and the clear comprehension, ultimately, slowly it is leading to the sila. Because the other side of the sutta, it says, as far as you are mindful and in the clear comprehension, you know when and where you disturb other psychologies. When and where you know you get tension, you get frustration, and you keep bookkeeping. And after long account, you can understand there's a relationship. And when and where you become sensitive to the moral shame and the moral fear, you understand once it happened, no medicine. Best thing is to restrain your faculties. But it must be justified and verified through your experience, not by the book or not by the penal code or nothing. And therefore the virtues found in the Buddha is not commandments. They are not commandments. You yourself has to present yourself and test it. And you are the one to verify it or not. All the other, except the Buddhism, everything are commandments. So you have no any saying about that. But in the virtues, what the Buddha explained, it is you can verify through your mindfulness, and before the breaking off of your virtues, your moral shame and moral fear get disturbed and your faculties become unruly, then only the breaking of precepts can happen. So it is not one event, it's a series of events. So each and every one at the beginning, you can't control it, but you have to have your bookkeeping. After long kind of experience only, you can understand the virtues is not a overnight business. It is not a one deal. It's a series of operation. At the last only, sila can happen. Through that, up to that level, you may be immoral. You may be not virtuous, but you can look forward because your mindfulness is going to give accountability or your verifiability, and that is the most important part in one's spiritual life. And one day I thought of sharing this experience that Pandita Sayadaw, he has gone to America for a residential retreat, and he says, his best to tell people your moral shame and moral responsibility is very crucial. Even if it is happening individual basis, it decides the society. So therefore, be responsible about your morality, moral shame and the moral fear. But when you go to that kind of a country, the values in the Asiatic countries and the developed countries different. The Sayadaw is coming from Burma, and he can see people are completely open. No, they just go by pleasure principle, not worry about the moral shame and the moral fear. And therefore he has mentioned, someone to have moral shame and the moral fear together with the precepts, his faculties must be mature. You must be at the age 40 to 50. That is the age morally you become mature. In the Kierkegaard presentation, he says, at the early age or teenage, we are just playing. We have no moral responsibilities and we don't know male and female. We play. And our life is so aesthetic. Very good, very nice. But when and where you become sexually mature and try to have a relationship, and specifically when you are going to raise children, you can't have this playful life, so you have to say tata to that playful life. You have to go to the household life. And there onward, if you are not virtuous, very difficult you to raise children. And therefore now you impose morality and unwillingly give up your playful life or the playthings. And now when you are going there, you now come up to the 40, 50, even you get the good children, even if you are successful in the life, you find the frustration is there. Tension is there. So morality itself is not complete, so you have to go for the truth. So that transitional age, according to Buddhism, it is 40 to 50. So Sayadaw has explained, good begets good and the bad begets bad, so therefore take care about the moral responsibilities, but don't worry at your early age, you may find little difficult, but as the maturity happens, one day you will appreciate your moral life you have spent, and by doing practice meditation, of course you are accumulating merits, so therefore you have enough chances again and again to reconsider it. And at the end, one person has mentioned, Bhante, it is very difficult for us to understand good begets good and the bad begets bad. We think money do everything, not the good and the bad. And the second thing is, you say that people will understand these kind of thing at the mature age, not at the younger age. So therefore, that also we don't know. Our society is ideals, social figures are very young people, not like the Asiatic people with the white beard and the head. And the next thing you say, by practicing meditation, we are accumulating virtues or merits. So let me explain, Bhante, if I am accumulating any kind of merits out of this meditation retreat, and if I am going to be a human in the next life according to your rebirth theory, may I reborn at 50s? That is my wish. Because after the 50s in the Western countries, it is such an unpredictable thing. Not only the West, even in the East. So, we have to understand, early part, we may not see results here and there or directly, but you have to believe it on faith. You can't reason it out. Even if you are mindful, the faith must be there. With faith, you keep on practicing virtues, and one day you will understand the good benefits. Otherwise, if you are not having any faith, no morality, by the time you come up to the maturity, may be too late. So that very difficult to communicate. It's a very rare opportunity to be a virtuous person, and you have huge amount of openness or open windows to do anything. But present day, even among the meditating circles, whenever you are telling these are the codes, these are the compendium of rules, many people not happy to accept. They wanted to change the rules and the conditions according to their likings and disliking. Ultimately, you never serve the purpose. So therefore, if someone is going to impose it, that's also not human. But still, you as an individual, you can adopt into that. When you are adopting, not only that you be a nice member in the society, you will not get attanuvada bhaya or self-criticism. You will not get paranuvada bhaya, criticism from the outside. You will not penalized by the penal code, or you have no fear after the death I will go to the nether world. So therefore this Sila Sikha is protected or prescribed, maybe overemphasized, with fair cautious, I would say, in the Theravada only. All the other places it has been compromised. And they are very, very advanced in meditation techniques and all the facilities and kind of thing, but it won't work. Because even not at the beginning, while it is going on, there should have a kind of a gathering of the momentum towards the moral responsibilities. It may, if you can have such a society, you are so lucky. People concerned about the morality, still they are practicing. And your passion, your contribution to that society, also very important thing, but it very difficult. Even the Buddha says, ahang nagova sangame chapato patitan sarang ativakyan titikkisan dussilohi bahujjano. In the Dhammapada he says, I am like a elephant gone to the battlefield. I tolerate, forbear, the arrows come and hit me. When you go to the war, what else you can expect? Because right round the people are immoral, not virtuous. Don't find fault with them. This is their world. They set norms. So whenever you go for meditation, mindfulness, you must try to understand the forbearance, and then even then not to sacrifice your morality, up to the mark, up to the ability you have. And when you are starting that journey at the beginning, as I mentioned, it's painfully slow. But after a while, you may understand you are slowly coming to the comfort zone, come to the middle area, and alignments will take place. That will be justified, that will be exemplified very nicely by meeting with other virtuous people. If it is happening, your journey is a safe journey, and that is what you call the dispensation of the Buddha or Buddha Sasana. So when you are practicing in the Buddha Sasana, while you are practicing, even you are exerting personally, ultimately whenever you see other virtuous people, you find that living happily and peacefully with them, it is easy to observe morality. When I get my high ordination in Galduva, our secretary mentioned, we have such an organization now, young people are come and get the ordination, very easy for us to protect precepts. We are endowed with that. Be happy, be within. Don't go search of into outside. Other places not possible. They are not given value. So therefore in the Yogasrama Sanstava, when our Venerable Jnanarama started, he gave certain rules and regulations and the compendium of rules, and that is the governing principle in the Nissarana. We always try, more than popularization, more than activities, try to adhere to the basic rules. So without that, even whatever the expansion we are going to do, there won't be much of a sound foundation. So there may be the 8 precepts or the rules and regulation in the center may be little difficult for you people. You are coming from different cultures and different places. But mind you, it is not to disturb you. It is not to harass you. It is to give a foundation. And it is not a personal imposing or commandments. That is the way it is happening. So the Buddha says, I prescribe that. That is why my disciples is respecting me, honoring me, revering me, venerate me. And not only that, they are ready to live in dependence of the Buddha. So very, very far away relationship, the first and foremost quality Buddha attribute to oneself, attribute to the Buddha himself is the virtues. So therefore he is telling however, Udayin, there are 5 other qualities I find, the relationship with the disciples and they are venerating and honoring me. Here Udayin, my disciples respect me, venerate me because of the virtues and the higher virtuous quality that I possess. So therefore, if you also wish to have that kind of thing, don't look down, don't underestimate the virtues. So that must give the foundation. So it is like a fence in a vegetable garden. If there is no fence in a vegetable garden, all the pests and all the roaming animals will come and destroy you. So therefore there should have a fence. Or Pandita Sayadaw, he says, not like an agricultural example, he says medical science, if you are to do a surgery, you must have a theater disinfected. Doctor must be, equipments must be, nurse must be, atmosphere must be, otherwise don't cut open the wound. Because it is creating so much of germs, so therefore before starting anesthetizing, before starting the surgery, the disinfectant atmosphere is a must. Without that, if you are going to cut open in the patient in a kitchen or in a toilet, you can't expect the success of the surgery. So likewise that the theater must be disinfected. Likewise, your physical and verbal behavior must be more and more refined, more and more cultured, more and more gentle. That is the highest culture in the world, self-restraint. Not due to the fear of God, or not fear of the authority, or fear of hell, nothing. But impose yourself. So this is the most cultured way. So therefore, when we are going it, hardly we can find companions. No one will be happy. So we have to work like a one-man army, or like a rhinoceros. Take this thing and carry on. And before ending the talk, I would like to say, if you are to understand, if you are to verify, if you are to see the benefits of the virtues in this very life, the mindfulness is the core factor. If you are mindful, you can easily understand. And other people, they say whether moral or immoral, it doesn't matter. Only the matter is fame, gain, money and kind of thing. They will give 1,001 examples, the fame, gain, money and everything, not limited to moral people, not limited to the virtuous people. So we will lose the game, we will lose the argument. But if you are mindful, you see, your aim is not the fame, gain and kind of thing, your aim is the contentment. With that perspective, the morality is a very early science in your progress. So therefore, each and every one of you taken that step by yourself. So far, each and every one of you taken it by yourself. Don't forget about that when you get a frustration. Don't forget about whenever you get the tension. So that must be your weapon-like or your armored-like. So therefore, whenever the virtues are concerned, we are much advanced when compared to the other humanity. So therefore, don't make a point to be one-upmanship and telling others are inferior, I am superior. No. Just imagine, our virtues are not given by God or parents or no one. We have taken. Don't forget about whenever you feel inferiority or distraction, but instead try to reinforce it. The mindfulness, definitely you can lead your own life more in the exemplified manner, and your behavior will be more louder than your other teaching and other preaching. So just be virtuous. Itself is contributing to the world peace at large. So therefore each and every moment, imagine 14 days, you have no chance to kill an animal. These 14 days, no chance to rob because you are beggars. No sexual misconduct unless otherwise so crafty. My simple request is don't talk. Don't talk. Then you will see the potential. I have no any personal grudge. But I know you don't value it. So when you go back, you will not phrase yourself by the concentration and the wisdom. You will say 14 days in our life, we had virtues. So it is already given. It's a matter of protection. May you all value it and protect it to the maximum. Then it will be the very nice retreat as at large, as well as each and every one of you definitely will gain more momentum in the mindfulness. With that remark, I would like to sum up the today's talk. Thank you very much for listening.